All right, here we go. Boom. Hello. Hello, everybody. Let me back one thing real quick. That's good. That's good. I'm running all kinds of stuff right now, so bear with me. There we go. Okay. So sorry, you might hear some more clicks than normal, but I had to change the audio gate to make sure that we could do this. So make sure my pin's working. Great. Okay. It's kind of an important deal. We've had a live stream before to where my pin just wouldn't work anymore. And then of course after I stopped trying to stream it worked perfectly. So who knows? Just technology, man. That's what it's about. But yes, welcome. I am streaming at the same time on YouTube and on Twitch. So if it's your first time watching, I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. If you're watching the video on demand on YouTube or Twitch, really, I appreciate you as well. So we are going to be working on a... Let me crank that a little bit more. We are going to be working on a sci-fi piece tonight. I've been doing fantasy for a while. I think I need to shake things up and do some sci-fi. Really work on stuff like hard surface, hard surface work, some different color spectrum stuff. Just really do different mood building. So I have already kind of worked about 4.5, 5 hours on this so far. I like parts of it, I don't like other parts of it, but it's getting there. Making an image, it takes a lot of different iterations and takes a lot of work, really. Especially now, I want to be more cognizant of designing things and making sure that the image works. And it's funny, I actually have a copy of one of my favorite books about this right next to me. I bookmarked it, so I'm going to read something. And it is this. Let me get back to the big deal right here. So, this is my copy of... It doesn't know what to look at. Imaginative Realism by James Gurney. And mine is autographed and signed by the man himself. Love James Gurney. And he discusses tonality. And he does something called the Windmill Principle. Windmill. The Windmill Principle is a way of thinking about tonal arrangement that will help you integrate a form into its background. It can help you avoid the pasted-on look that happens if you don't concentrate on losing some edges and accentuating others. So basically, if you've ever heard of a checkerboard, the checkerboard setting or system of creating an image to where you put light on dark and then dark on light, and then you do like a checkerboard of it, this works like that, but you actually accentuate all 4 different spectrums. So you can do light on light, light on dark, dark on dark, and dark on light. And it windmills you around. And one of my main goals is I want to design my stuff better, if that makes sense. What's up, Phoenix? The VIP on YouTube right there, Mr. Member, as it were. First member, number 1. I'm telling you, man, I'm gonna get you a crown. We're gonna hook you up with something. Freebies, something. But I want to try that windmill technique and kind of see what we can figure out. But I don't know, what we have so far I think looks okay, but something's not right. I normally I normally think a lot of things in my images are not right. But that's something I have to deal with, something I have to get over. The first thing I want to do, oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I like parts of this. I do like parts of the piece so far, but I think there are a few things that I need to fix. Namely, I need to figure out what to do. I notice I have a 1-point perspective, but the 1-point perspective grid's not lining up right, so I need to fix that, especially on like this tower, because I had pretty much all of this done before I added this foreground and this character. So really, this is just I like the idea of having this foreground here to kind of give more context. So we might do a little bit more with this, but then because of this, we're actually going to tweak what is out here. Part of me wants to darken the background to actually make it space. So then you can tell that there's a window here. And we're also going to make some glass. We're going to do some light streaks and stuff to make some glass. Yeah. We got some stuff to figure out. So this is Art Rage. This is Art Rage Vitae. The reason why I'm in Art Rage is I want to show you guys a little art hack. I really want to make some nice painterly... I actually want this one to really look like an impasto painting. I was doing this rendering and everything looked kind of soft, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm feeling it. Like, I don't feel drawn to the image as I'm making it. But there's an artist, and I'll show his stuff in just a minute, that I'm getting really big into. And he does very thick brush strokes. And out of the different art softwares that I have, Art Rage Vitae, Rebel, and Paintstorm Studio are kind of my main 3 that I go to. We've used Rebel quite a bit lately, so I want to jump over to Art Rage just to shake the cobwebs out. Sort of like with a new tool, you think of new ideas and new ways to solve problems, which is why I own so many art softwares. But I'm going to show you guys the coolest hack in the world for getting like impasto brushwork quickly on a piece. And it's going to blow people's minds. It's super easy to do. It works in every painting software, but really any paint software that has like thick paint, quote unquote, like a thick paint engine, it works way better. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to change the blending mode to, where are we at? We're at multiply. Now I'm going to get a pure white brush. Yeah, the mobile stuff is not great for Art Rage, or even for like, I haven't had a lot of great luck with a lot of mobile stuff, except for Procreate, of course, and then Infinite Painter. I just love that program. It just works so well. But this stuff will actually work pretty good. This technique right here should work good in those iOS softwares as well, if you have like a thicker brush pack or something. So I'm on a multiply layer, and let me rename it so it's easy to keep track of. Okay. So we're in the multiply layer. I am going to get, let me get Bond's brush. My good friend, Daniel Ibanez, shared with me his brushes, and then I had a field day with him, and yo, that guy, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. So yeah, I actually have a chat window up and it shows me Twitch and YouTube at the same time. It's sick. But welcome to the stream. So I have a thick brush. If I showed you just what it looks like without, I tried to put like a window texture on this and I don't like it, so we're gonna fix that too. But let me come up here like where this is smooth. And then like, this has like really big thick paint texture stuff, and also like, I don't know if you got, okay, there you go. Maybe the encoding might make it, but you see how, yes, this is mine. I'm just goofing off, making a sci-fi piece. But see how this impasto works on these brushes without having to change any settings? It's really nice. If you have a white brush, pure white, and it's on multiply mode, the only thing you're going to get are those impasto marks, the parts where the brush stroke is showing, but it's not going to change the colors. I'll show you. It's really, really super handy. So we're going to go to multiply. We got that. Now watch this. Same brush. See how it kind of barely tints it a little bit? But then, do you see how we're building up that texture? This is a super easy way to build a kind of underpainting with thick impasto. Like, so what you can do, the real secret to this, is to follow the contour lines of your painting. So like, if I wanted to add a little bit of impasto marks to this, I'm just gonna kind of re-sketch over what we already have. And you see, it's not super apparent unless you're really looking at it. But that's kind of what we want. We want it to be messy, but it still makes sense. Almost like we've had these brush strokes in from the very beginning. So like, especially on like armor and stuff, this can really help out, giving it a little bit more of a solidified look to the painting. And you see, it doesn't really affect it all that much. It doesn't change what you already have, but what it does do is it gives tooth, like an almost like a canvasy tooth to what you're working on. And it may seem redundant because it's not making a huge difference yet, but it will. Because you're really going to get that nice kind of painterly look. And you can even follow like the perspective grid lines. And the longer you keep the brush on the canvas, the thicker that looks. See, like stuff like that. And as you paint over the areas that already have this effect, the effect gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So like there's our spaceship. And you can just like change the angle a little bit. So think of this as almost like a varnish. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's fun. I appreciate that. It's fun to just come in and kind of, if I have an idea, sort of like sketch it out. It's not for a client or anything, but sometimes whenever you're not working on client work, you can just kind of experiment and do some stuff. What was I building right there? Coming through here. Alright. So this should actually be okay. There we go. For right now. Yeah, so it just adds that little bit of tooth and grit that we want. Because I'll show you somebody who I've been looking at and I'm really digging their look is a guy named Eldar. He actually sells a brush pack for Procreate and for Photoshop that I bought. and it's expensive. It's an expensive brush pack. It's like 35, 40 bucks. But to me, it's actually pretty well worth it. I wish I would just use it more, but I use it as kind of a finisher on some stuff. If a client really wants something really painterly. And then what's nice, we have this, and it adds just a little bit of that tooth to it without it being super big. So this is what is it? Galactic Civilizations 3. Well, I'm getting big into 4X games again, like strategy games. And I'm starting Gal Civ 3. Those games are a lot of work, but they're fun. They're really fun. So I wanted to get the space, epic, big space. But yeah, you can see those brushes right there. And see, it's a little much right now. But what's cool, you grab out the palette knife. And you can carve away some of the... It's like you're scraping it with a glass scraper. It's so nice. See? Makes it way more tangible, way more, I don't know. Makes it feel a little bit more realistic. Alright. Copy visible layers. And this is a big file. I think this is like 8,000 by 5,000 at 300 DPI. So it might take it a second to do some of this. In fact, it might crash, actually, now that I think about it. It's a little big. Little big. And then what we're going to do with this is we're going to use this, ironically, I know I've already worked 4-ish hours, 5-ish hours on it. We're going to use this as an underpainting. And then we're going to go in with these thicker brushes and really make this look painterly. Once this copies, and then I can make the duplicated layer up here, I'll show you the artwork of Eldar, who really like his stuff. Do that. Edit, paste. There we go, boom. And what's nice is you'll see the color changed a little bit. It actually integrated those brush strokes into the, see, I can hide all of this other stuff. You see? And it just integrated those brush strokes into the flattened image so far, because it's going to let us grab some of these nuanced textures and the subtle shifts of highlight and shadow in each brushstroke and use that as our painting mechanism. So yeah, this is a little lower than 8K, but because it's in 300 DPI, I kind of want to make prints of this one. I wanted that to be sort of the idea, is make something that I could sell on the print shop, make it look pretty cool. Just incentive to make sure I don't get lazy. Because if I know I'm going to be selling it, I want it to look as good as possible. You know what I mean? But, okay, yes, before I forget, let me show you all. Where is it? Okay. So, let me come over here. And I'm going to bring in some of I have a lot of Eldar stuff saved on my hard drive, so I'm going to import some of it to... I'm going to import it to PureRef, and then I'm just going to drag it over here so you guys can kind of see the technique I'm going to go for. If I can nail this technique, if I can like figure it out, I'm going to be a happy camper, for sure. Let me... Okay. All right. Can't show that other smaller stuff, but if we bring this over here, this over here, I'm gonna make these bigger in just a second, but I want to get them on their own deal. All right. So this is some of Eldar's work. And if you see here, he does something interesting to where he doesn't touch the paint at the final pass. So there's a lot of this going on. It takes a lot of confidence to be able to paint this way. And like, if you look at stuff like this, you see how that yellow paint isn't quite blended in all the way? And like the planet, you see how there's some messy kind of impasto looking stuff? And like these type of brush strokes, I want to have some of that in this. It's way different and painterly compared to, yeah, see, stuff like this is, I think, is gorgeous. Like the way these colors blend, and but then you zoom out and it looks like the thing. My favorite one, the one that's the most striking, is probably this one, Eldar. So his name is Eldar. I think it's Zakharov. Let me double check that. Boom. Boom. He's on ArtStation. Yeah. Eldar Zakharov. So that's who you're gonna Google up. But the most striking use of these brush strokes and kind of the thick paint look is gonna be stuff like this. And like this type of stuff. The only thing is, I always ask myself, if I had this on my canvas, like if I had this open, would I be, I don't know, would I feel like it's unfinished? And the answer is probably yes. But that's kind of the point with this, in doing this like thicker paint style and like this type of stuff. So maybe that's one of the lessons I need to work on, is like, while what I have is good and cool and whatever, it feels a little too lifeless because there's no interesting like brush stuff going on. Do you know what I mean? Like everything looks kind of flat, it looks kind of whatever. But I'm hoping if I come in with these thicker brushes and start doing that type of thing, like like doing this type of stuff, I think this idea will really start working better. Like, it'll look cooler, it'll be more interesting to look at. And since we're making a painting, the goal should probably be to make something that's interesting to look at. I know it sounds obvious, but that's kind of what the job is, right? Make a good painting at the end of the day. So let's just get to it. Let's I have a duplicated deal right here, and then we're just gonna try to kind of color pick and just start blending some of these brushes together, or some of these colors. I'm gonna take the, I want to say it's the oil blender. And I can like, so I can do that. I mix between that and like, let's see what's interesting. I need to keep the stuff around focal points pretty smudged out and loose. That way, whenever we come into the nitty gritty of the spaceship, for instance, and like, bring that down a little. And see, what's nice is depending on how hard you hit or like press down on the brush, it gives more of that more or less of that impasto effect. So if I come over here, see, and you can still render out some decent sharp edges. You just have to be a little bit more aware. Alright. So, and see, it's not a huge difference. Whenever you like zoom out, like the ship isn't a huge difference, but I think it looks a little more like I need to go in and add some of these details back. But I don't know, it looks a little more painterly, a little more interesting. There's some more grit to it. And I'm hoping that doing this across everything across the board. Another good one. Check this out. This is a square canvas texture. This is a secret weapon. This comes with Art Rage. This is amazing because what it does is it blends out some of this stuff, but the way that it does it, it actually adds some really interesting canvas textures like that. Because if you notice, there's some of this, and it's a little overbearing right now, but there are some areas, yeah, like right here on the face, you can see how that texture is kind of shining through a little bit. That's the sort of thing that I want to keep on mine. Like that, right? So this part might take a very long time. A very long time. But I do think the payoff is going to be worth it. Because I think the painting's just going to look better. Boom. Into Eastern art, so like the more like Chinese, Japanese, like ink stuff, or because like I'm one of those people that if it looks good, it is good, you know. I can dig good pictures from anywhere in the world. Let's do Bond's brush. Big fan of Bond's brush. It's a little much, but yes, so I'm a person's art that I'm really getting into lately. Oh, I say lately, but like I've always been a fan. I can't remember her first name. Is it Akiyama? Akiyama Kojima. So she makes those beautiful painterly like marketing images for Castlevania. And her work is drop dead gorgeous. Like, super good. I need to message I need to message Daniel soon and see how he's doing, but also tell him that his brushes are absurdly good. Cause yeah, his nickname's Mamba Bond, which is why it's called Bond's brush. But yeah, these are like perfect paintbrushes. Let me get rid of those. Let's do softer oil. In here. There we go. And see, kind of get rid of a lot of that grit around our... one of our focal points, which is our ship. So we're going to stay zoomed in like this for a little bit, just to put some marks down. And then what we can do in a few minutes is zoom all the way out and kind of see what we got and how it looks. So yes, it does have a navigator, but let's see, view, layout, sticker sheet, positions. Can't remember what it is called. Because it's called something that you wouldn't think of it being called. I don't think it's a reference. Yeah, I need to, because it might be one of those things that you have to open up a reference panel and like you can reference the image you already have. Drawing pain, feel like I'm gonna do everything. Yes. So that the feeling of like wanting to do every style on Earth is a real one. That is absolutely true. Every time I was joking with someone the other day about that. About like every time I see somebody who does an amazing art style, I'm like, oh, that's my new calling. I'm gonna do that forever. And then I see another cool thing and I'm like, I want to do that one forever. Like, I don't think that ever goes away. But the good news is that's kind of awesome because it means you're always going to be able to grow and learn, and that's kind of why I decided to do this as my career. Is like I'll never get bored of it because there's always something new to do, you know. See, and where these big thick brushes really come into play are going to be your rocks. You can do some amazing looking rocks with like hardly any brush strokes. because rocks are chaotic anyway. They are built to be haphazard and not look quite right. And anything in nature that you can get away with painting like that, like kind of sloppily, and it's actually really cool. And the even better thing about sci-fi art is you can just say they're on, oh, those rocks don't look right. Oh, well, they're on a planet, and the planet's rocks look like that. You can just get away with everything. I can't remember who I was reading an interview with, but they were talking about it's great to write science fiction because, like, even if you misspell something, you can just say, oh, well, actually, that's just how they say it in the old tongue of their language. Like, you can wash away a lot of mistakes by just saying, oh yeah, no, I meant to do that for sure. Actually, let me get rid of that. I'll come back in and I'll hit this again, like with the pipes, you know. And kind of the nice thing about painting like this, you can just shut your brain off and just sort of put strokes down. And they're probably going to look okay. Like, you can come in and refine them later. So my PC has 16 gigs. It has an NVIDIA 3060 graphics card. An i11 or Intel, like, yeah, I think it is an i11 processor. So it's a moderately beefy rig, but it's also because I have to record and, you know, do the tutorial stuff and do live streams and game on it because I'm doing the new show and stuff. So, like, it has to be kind of a powerhouse. But to get good results in art programs like this, you don't need, you know, a $2,000 computer or anything. And I'm thinking I might... Let me extend this arm down, because right now the arm is holding a pouch, but I don't think that reads very well. So what I should do, let me extend this arm down. And because we're working pretty, like, not sloppy, but it is a little sloppy, this should actually be fairly easy to do. So if this is the shoulder, bicep, tricep, elbow. I don't like that angle. So this is also the fun part about being kind of a sloppy painter. Oh, that's why. If that leg's forward, this arm has to be back. And that can come up here. That will do that. See, and this is without reference. This is why you desperately need reference. Just to make stuff like this way easier. But for like a block in, this will at least give me an idea of where stuff is. No, yeah, exactly. Oh, he's an alien. No, this is how the pilots look. They don't need hands because they just put like their arm in the... They like steer like that. They just... It goes into their nerve endings of the... Yeah, I'm like... Supposed to be a really cool like sci-fi helmet, but I don't know. But see, I'm actually staying fairly like zoomed out. So we can keep that nice thick painterly look. Let me bring that up, yeah. Then what we'll do after a bit, once we get the whole canvas kind of covered in... See, I might redesign this. Because at first I like the idea of it being like this, but I don't know if I do anymore. I don't know if it fits at all. Like... darken that out. So I can darken that out. So then I can come here and add that back in. like purple. Yeah, that's true. Because what I was kind of thinking is like, if this base could be built into the side of a big crater or something, you know? Because I was also trying to figure out, like, this could be anything. Like, I like the idea of the shot of, like, a sun coming out from behind a planet, and it gives you that, like, light bloom look. But that comes back to the thing I've been thinking about, actually, quite a bit lately. Not every piece has to be everything. And sometimes that's a hard lesson to swallow. Because it's like you want to put so much cool stuff in each piece. But maybe the ideas that I'm starting to have is part of another piece. You know, maybe this one just needs to be finished. You know, and then some of those other ideas I can start working on with another painting. Because I do think I want to work on some more sci-fi stuff. Because something with sci-fi art that's really cool, but also is something I don't do a lot of, is different perspectives. So I've made the joke before, like I've poked fun at myself before, that like, oh, I'm gonna do another environment. Oh, great, another 1 point perspective. Because that's always what it ends up happening. Like the way my mind works, I think more in the depth of it than I do in the perspective of it. So I always do my values and try to focus on that more. But the bad thing is that ends up being kind of redundant. Because all of my, in fact, this one's doing exactly the same thing. All my landscapes have like a triangle shape, and then it goes into the background. Like almost verbatim, every single one of my landscapes do that. In fact, let's play a game. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm gonna bring over my old portfolio here. Okay, this one kind of didn't, but I also used 3D on this one. But like, all right, triangle, like triangle shape, right? Warhammer, okay, triangle shape, triangle shape, triangle shape. And this is just my portfolio. Yeah, hell, even this one, triangle shape, like pointing down at, you know what I mean? It's just like a, not a one-trick pony, but I rely way too much on that. But then on the flip side, you have people like the old Grandmaster Titus Lunter here. You get like these dope looking, you know, big shots. And yeah, he'll do 1 point perspectives. But also you have like a true, you know, 3 point perspective on these things. Yeah, like this one where you're literally like, boom, like looking up at the thing and like the grand majesty of it. I need to just like not shy away from it. I shy away from it because I'm not good at it, but I'm not good at it because I never do it. So it's this weird self-fulfilling prophecy of like, it intimidates me because I haven't done it a lot, but if I did it, it would not look good. Like, you know, everyone goes through that kind of artistic phase of like, you want to be good at the thing, but in order to get good at it, you have to be bad at it first. Square thumbnail sketches. Much details I can put in the square landscape. That's a great idea. There's a thing in oil painting called notan. Notan, Notan, Literally, it is pure black and white. There's no gray. You just block out shapes. You block out your shapes. Here's a triangle, here's a circle, here's a line, here's a this, here's a that. And if you stick with that silhouette, everything works. Like, if you get a solid, good silhouette and you keep everything within it, you're golden. Like, and I guess that's the thing that I have my troubles with as far as like my own personal artwork. I don't think there's a clear read on anything. I think it looks nice and it's like nice and abstract and stuff, but there's no just, like you saw in the Titus pieces, it's just a striking shape. And that's it. It's just the shape, and everything else is kind of an accessory of the shape. But like, and like, I like, you know, that there are different focal points or whatever. But like, if I ask chat, if I ask you all right now, what's the focal point of this piece? Like, what's the thing your eye goes to? Now, I designed it a certain way, or I thought I did, so I'd like to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Like, what do you think the focal point is of this piece? So the ship, probably the guy, the ship or the white thing in the back. So like the blowout of, yeah, whatever the star system or whatever that, yeah. So you see what I mean? So really what I wanted the focal point to be is the ship. But that might not be effective yet. And the reason why I say the ship, the light is lighting the ship primarily. Our character, that's actually pretty high rendered right now, is looking at the ship. These lines coming up at the ship. Even this lens flare, I wanted it to kind of box in the ship. Even, you guys notice this? See these two deals right here? That was my goal. Right. But it's not quite there yet. Like, so I think probably what I need to do, I need to either lighten back behind the ship, or I need to darken the ship slightly to make it stand out a little more from the background. Because I think it looks okay because it's like, it kind of melts in with the background, which is cool because there's some atmosphere and all that stuff. And we'll add that here in a little bit. We'll go into Photoshop, get some good cloud brushes, and really make it look like it's part of it. But what if I came in here, grabbed this, saturated it, and darkened it? soften, like, sharpen those edges a little. That. No, that doesn't make sense. There we go. Then let me come in with this. Where is my glaze? Actually, let's do the filbert blend. Kind of soften the edges around it. So now, hopefully, it is a little more apparent that that's our focal point, right? Or sharper than things. Yes, absolutely. So that brings up a good point, and it's a thing that I'm gonna do on the channel. As far as, like, right now I'm working on a video on edges, like your soft edges, your hard edges, and your lost edges and things like that, and how you can kind of control them. But contrast is a huge thing, and a lot of people think of contrast as far as color. So, like, oh, the contrasting colors and the color wheel, and, like, you have your red and then your cyan, and those are your two, you know, across the... And that's one way of doing contrast, but another way of doing contrast is edges. Sharp versus soft. So if I have fairly sharp edges on that ship, just like you said, and then I soften all the edges around it, it really drives home I should be looking at that. Like, the human eye loves to find patterns. So if you can make your edges work that way, if you can be like, okay, my focal point is going to have the highest contrast. And what I mean by highest contrast is it's going to be the most dark versus light, while also being like something small and something big, you know, like a little dot, like a little speck. You know, whenever you get a new monitor and if there's like a dead pixel on it, like a little red pixel, or like on a TV, and you see that one red and you're like, whoa, because your eye just, it like beelines to it. So you can do that. So with everything else being fairly small, since it's in the background, the ship's actually bigger. That might be why, now that we talk about this and put some like verbiage to it, that might be why I don't like this building. Because the building is kind of the same size, structure thing as the ship on the same plane. So maybe, you know what we could do? We could use this as an excuse to completely get rid of the building. Or maybe not get rid of it, but make this shape like an actual mountain, or like canyon, or some sort of rock formation. Maybe we get the roof of this to be down here. See how it is right here with the door, and the doors opening and the warm light and stuff. Maybe we scrap this, and that'll really make sure that the ship is the thing. So desaturated as far as, yeah, as far as, you mean just like pure value? So, quick way to do that, you make a new layer, you come and you fill in the layer with black or white, just something that has no inherent color. Art Rage is busy. Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. Art Rage, what are you doing? Just fill it in with black. What are you doing? Hold on. Blend mode normal, flood spread. Current layer only. Okay, that's what I wanted. Kind of, but like, we still have the weird... Okay, that's bizarre. Because those brush strokes are under it. Anyway, we'll come in here. We'll go to blend mode. We go to color. So you can see, as stuff gets closer to us, it gets darker. As it gets further away, it gets lighter. That's just the way that my mind can separate my planes. Everything in the middle is various forms of midtone. Your midtones and your... So like, everything here is your nice midtones. Your foreground is going to be your darks. Your background is going to be your lights. Yeah, I mean, I feel okay about the values. I could probably darken some of this a little bit out here. But then the other thing that you have, and this is where we start getting into some weird rendering things. This is supposed to be glass in front of here. So what does that do? What does that do when we have a light like this? This is the thing about working from pure imagination. It kind of sucks, because now you have to think like physics. Okay, if the light's like this and this is a piece of glass, we want to be able to see our stuff outside the window, but also make sure this reads as a thing of glass. So it has to refract some of the light. So really what I was thinking is whenever we can get maybe like an edge tool, like a knife edge, palette knife, that's the word I'm looking for, palette knife, and get white paint and just kind of like scrape. So it's kind of that etched look of glass, but not everywhere, just areas that we don't really need a lot of focus on. Yeah, you can have everything sharp. The only thing is the human eye can only focus on one thing at a time. Perfect example is if you read a book, your eye can only focus on the word it's on and maybe 2 or 3 words around it. And everything else is completely lost. It's all, you know it's there because it's the same size and the same color, so you know, your mind knows there's other words around it. But like, you can really embrace the human eye's ability to not focus on everything at the same time. Because whenever you look at paintings, especially kind of the grandmasters of Rembrandt and, you know, Cezanne, or like Zorn or Sargent or whatever, not everything is rendered. In fact, a vast majority of the piece is not rendered. The only thing that is rendered is what they want you to look at. You know, like, that's where they spend their time. Because they're like, hey, look at this. And everything else is like a contextual thing around it. No, that's fine. Yeah, so I'm going to lower the volume real quick. I'm just blasting the... Oh... Why can I not ever think of the name? Galactic Civilizations 3. That's the name of it. I keep thinking Galaxy, and then it is that, but it's, you know, but that's the soundtrack that's playing. But yes, so it's about building that image that does direct the viewer pretty immediately. So maybe if we did cut this building down, and also it might give us a better context for how large the ship is, you know. Yes, yeah, you build it around it, like... And it's nice because, you know, when I did work for Star Wars, which they should be able to show that soon. I'm hoping soon. The big announcements can come out and stuff and we can show it. But that was a lot of it. is like there was the only thing that was important is the story that you're telling. Everything else is secondary. And like Warhammer is the same way. So whenever we did stuff for 40K, like even on one of my portfolio pieces, you can tell the piece itself is not highly rendered at all. It took a while because there's a lot of details, but the details aren't rendered. So it's kind of it's like a lot of small brushstrokes, but they interpret something. They don't really mean anything. But if you look at it at a glance, you're like, wow, look at all that detail. But there's not a lot of details really. Like it's a nice mental trick you can do. What we could also do is we can add other people out here for reference. Like we can add them for context. So you can see how big, like, okay, how big is this door? In my mind, it's a big hangar door. Like it's one of those huge, like you could fit a small plane through that door. Or maybe not. I might need to make it a little wider. But like, that's my context, right? So it's about reading that and making it read that way. That's the other thing about doing the color mode with black or white. You can just disable it and then re-enable it to just check your values all the time. Maybe easier to make apparent. That's true, because yeah, anytime light hits a lens, you're gonna have that separation of your values, or of your channels, I should say. How do you approach creating crest designs for sci-fi military factions? I really don't. It's funny because it's like the main things I would look for are just shapes. Like, is this a sharp shape? It's funny if you play Destiny, or if you kind of see their guiding principles, that's how they think. Okay, this faction are the pyramids. They're made of nothing but pyramids. And this faction is a bunch of circles. So they have a bunch of bulbous light bulbs and like weird things and big goggles, and there's circles everywhere. It's like they take their primitive shapes and then you build around it. So like, here are the sharp whatever. So it's the triangle, or like a weird dagger type thing, a longer rectangle with a sharp point at the end. Like, you can integrate the symbol, like the design sense, into everything. Dude, Homeworld's rad. So that's kind of the type of vibe. I know the colors don't make sense, because Homeworld's a very like black and steel chrome reds, like dark orange beacons of rockets flying through space. But that sense of like, look how big this galaxy is. That, and also like Mass Effect art, you know. There's eyeglasses that do chromatic aberration. That's crazy. I don't think I can handle it. Like, it's always weird to me now, like just wearing eyeglasses outside. If light hits it a certain way, and like you can see the reflection of your own eyeball, it's weird. It's very bizarre. So I'm gonna try this. You know what they say, kill your darlings. Let's get rid of this. Oh, layer hidden. I didn't want that layer anyway. Okay, so yeah, before we started stream, this is what we had. So here you go, and then, or after the merge layer, I guess, and then this is what we have so far. It's kind of dirtying it up, but that's fine. We can go and clean it later. But kill your darlings. Let's bring in, let's do a flat brush. Actually, flat dry, because this is rock. So the reason why I had this building in here before is I wanted to break up that triangle shape. But hell, we might as well just embrace it. Who cares? But yeah, they say kill your darlings. Don't be too... nothing is sacred when it comes to this. Just get rid of parts that don't work and see, I can actually come and maybe like... let's do... It's also a nice thing because now it clears out some of that noise around our soldier and actually brings him to the forefront as well. So I can feel the... oh, interesting, yeah. So I'm on the Huion Canvas 22. This is the older Canvas 22. They have a newer one, which I wish I actually would have waited for, because the pins on the newer ones are better and they don't take batteries. So they just work. You get it and it works, and you don't have to recharge it. You don't have to do anything. It can work with any type of stylus. I've been through, and you know, my almost 2-year-old son is a reason for this, but I've been through 3 of these pins already, and I've only had this tablet for about 2 years. And that's going through pins pretty quick. I do use this every single day, but I do think it's, the pins don't last a super long time. What we could do with this is just really kind of embrace the rocky outcrop style look. Oh, actually, I know what we can do. We can use that to our advantage and make it look like that this is actually going into the mountain. You know what I mean? 'Cause that's like a cooler design anyway. Yeah, we can fix that here in a little bit, but that's facing that. I have to remember there's an old rule that anything facing the light gets the light. So like, get that light, that's facing the light, so that gets there, that gets there, that gets that. Let's lighten this up around here. And this will help out with that focal point of the ship as well. Let me get a brush. There we go. Something a little more chaotic. Like we discussed before, you can always go and like smooth it back out. Soil blender. Softer oil. All right. So need to come back in and fix the ship design. See, the thing is, you can use brushes that are a little too big for right now, because whenever you come in and you start refining stuff, that's when you can really get like a 2 or 3 pixel brush and just go and detail everything out the wazoo. Let's do that. Make that a little bigger. All right. Didn't have touch. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I've had really bad luck with Wacom tablets. There was actually a joke. I went to art school years and years and years ago, but there was an old joke that I guess the way you really pronounce Wacom is Wacom, which is weird to me, but they say, oh, it's really called Wacom. And it's like, yeah, because when the drivers stop working, you whack them. To hopefully fix them. But I've had great luck with Huion. Huion and XP Pen seem to be, of course, the more budget-friendly, I guess you could say. But like, I've had better luck and better compatibility with them across all different deals. Like, the only thing that is better as far as feel and functionality and stuff is probably the iPad and the Apple Pencil. But that's actually so good that I'm not used to it yet. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's some great, fantastic hardware manufacturers now. Like, that's the nice thing. You know how everyone talks about, oh, the world has changed because of cell phones, and cell phones are the bane of existence or whatever. Or they changed society forever. That's true. What cell phones did do, they brought touch functionality. The price of that plummeted whenever iPhones started getting popular, and then, Android started coming out and stuff. Now everything has beautiful screens with beautiful touch and multi-touch functionality, and it makes for stuff like this way cheaper, way more affordable. I dig it. I think it's awesome. So, check our values. Yeah, that's fine. So, because I'm me, you know what could be interesting? You know, it could be real interesting. If we want to sell this idea even better, what if... So what if this was actually something floating in space, and this was like some sort of sun, but the rest of this was actually space? Like, not pitch black, because you have to think we're looking through a window and there's light refraction happening, so it wouldn't appear pure black. And plus, I don't like using pure black in paintings. Pure black and pure white, like, stay away from them. They kill any colors that you have. And then this, instead of this being the darker thing on a light background, what if even without changing the values of this, this became the light thing on a darker background? Because the thing that I worry about is just, it just looks, it sounds like a weird thing to say, this looks too much like all my other landscapes. And if I want to do sci-fi because it's different, I'm not making it look much different. Let's try this. Poor Art Rage. This thing is making Art Rage scream. But you know what won't scream? Export image file. I'm going to export this out, and we are going to go into the program I am very fond of lately. Very, very fond of. And that is Clip Studio Paint. The more I use Clip Studio, the more I like it. But as you all will see, a lot of you are from the channel, and welcome. Like, I saw you, Rick, in here. Thank you for watching, my friend. But as you can see here, I got Photoshop Rebel 5, Rebel 6, Clip Studio, Art Rage, Paint Storm, Krita, Corel Painter, Project Dog Waffle, which I'm going to be doing a video on very, very soon. This thing is a beast when it comes to painting. And then the realistic paint engine. We also have like Affinity Photo and stuff like that. But lately, I have been digging Clip Studio Paint. Let me open. Okay. I'm going to set up my value checker again. Cool. Huh. You know what I could do? I could actually bring in some reference. Who knew, right? Let's do this. Since we're in here now, I am going to... There's this really handy button, and I think they're going to be adding this button into Rebel 6, because I was a beta tester for that. And I requested this feature. That if you go to... where is it? Yeah. Layer. Merge visible to a new layer. And you click this button. Now I have a perfect merged layer on its own thing, and we're gonna work on our values. So this is how I always work. I always go back and forth between painting with color, then go back to values. Work on the values, refine it, go back to color, do the color. I do that over and over. It's a weird way to work for a lot of people, but I love it because it makes sure that I'm never far off of my goal. So with this, if we took that, I'm gonna refine it better, but really this is just to give us a look. Let's see what this looks like. So, let's see. Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I love making brush packs. It's some of my favorite stuff to do on the side because I'm always working. I'm always, working on stuff. So being able to make my own brushes and stuff is just a lot of fun. But what's funny is I use my brushes so much. That's why I like the variety of opening up other art programs. Is I'm like, oh, this feels different. This feel, because I'm testing my brushes so much during the year. If we do like So in these two brushes that I always go back and forth between were actually created by my good art buddy, Ray Friendon. Love these brushes. And it's like, I think buying his brush pack is worth it just for these two brushes, the ones that I'm using over and over. The Photoshop Wet and the regular Photoshop. They just work so well. We do that. Then you go back to the Photoshop Wet, make it a little bigger, and that's when you can like smudge out those harder. It's like a perfect mix between a hard round brush and a blender brush, all in like one fell swoop. It's great. So, see, what's funny is another good thing about this technique where you can just like work in values, you go from values back to color and all that stuff. All you have to do is see we're here with these colors. If you go ahead and take that original layer that has all your colors and everything, you duplicate it, you bring it on top of everything, and then change the color mode, or I'll show you. So let's say we want to look at what these colors look like with our new, with this. You can just bring a merged color layer, like the layer that you had of everything in color, drag it on top, put it on top of your value pass, and then change this blending mode also to be color. And then it re-puts everything kind of back where it was, but then you also have the look of what you want. So it looks kind of weird, right? Because we have the colors that don't really make sense. But part of that's kind of cool though, because it gives you some ideas. So do I like the darker? I think that flattens it out. I think the darker background flattens it out. This one feels a little more majestic. I just need to make it work better, I think. You know, before we really start like pushing to final. And to do that, let's go new correction layer. Let's do a tone curve. So with the tone curve, basically you're changing the amount and the intensity of your RGB values in your shadows, your highlights, and your midtones. There's another thing that you can do in Photoshop, and I want to say it's, God, what's it called? It's basically just color grading. And that's kind of what you do is you affect it on that level as far as your color hue output. Where does it fall on the tone map? And then you can also do like shadows and highlights. So like how dark are the shadows and stuff. Like it gets mathematical, but it's real helpful. And what we can do with this is like, this is what we had before Yeah, I think so too. I love Rebel. I do. I think it's genius. I think for kind of an all-in-one painting package, you'd be hard pressed to find something better than Rebel. But the next step, and when it comes to the goal, right? Like, I would love if it were up to me, I had unlimited money to make a perfect program. It would have the paintbrush engine of Rebel and Art Rage, the layer management stuff of Photoshop, and also like the tools for editing, like post processing, and then it would have the flexibility of something like Clip Studio. Um, but that's why I have so many programs, is they each do something really well, and I'll jump back and forth between like 5 programs for every single piece, unless it's like a sketch or something. But yeah, like Clip Studio has pretty good control over that. Photoshop's still the king when it comes to that sort of granular, change every hue to this and tweak the reds to be that, and like you could get lost in that for days. But Clip is kind of nice because it simplifies it. Like, it gives you that sort of control, but it's not overwhelming you with different blending options and all that stuff. Like, if you know how to work it, you can still do it, but it's not necessary. But it's like going just with a few tweaks of the curve. You go from something like this to that, and that's a striking difference. Um, what I really like to do is if I go in and I do like, I have this mask here. If I get my eraser, a big soft eraser, I just kind of basically erase coming here. It almost works like a gradient map, you know? More. Whoa. They told you they never should have worked. Well, that's amazing. I don't know how you got these to work in the first place. That's impressive. See, and here's another thing. Like with Clip, it's kind of weird. You're masking stuff, usually in Photoshop or Rebel or whatever. You paint with black if you want to hide it, and then you paint with white if you want to show what's the changes are made. But with Clip Studio, it's the paintbrush to show it and the eraser to hide it, which makes sense. But it took me forever to memorize it because I was like, why isn't the mask working? I'm painting with white and with black, but it's not changing. So like, I got the eraser, but then if I want to change it back, just get the brush. Something like that. And let me see something. Change that one. No, that's a little too much for that. I don't want that to take all of the focus. All right. That's so interesting. But I can't imagine being a software developer trying to develop a painting program. It seems... That seems like a rough go. Because you have to kind of think, you have to be a true, like, artistic virtuoso. Because you need to be able to explain and understand logically and mathematically how things like a brushstroke should work. Very bizarre. Like, it's so on another level. Like, I'm glad to be a beta tester, but let me save that. And then what we can do, we got all that. It's saving. So then what we can do, we can take this into Photoshop and then paint for a little bit, and then we're going to call it. Because I've been live for a little bit now. My dog just woke up. Okay. And see, it's funny. We still have, even after all that change, we still have some of those thick brushes from Art Rage that are still in there, which is nice, you know. So if we have that, I'm going to close that out. Now let's open good old Photoshop. Photoshop's been making me angry lately because it keeps crashing. But, you know, par for the course. Let's do... There we go. Boom. Now we're in. Here we go. Give me my 2023 brushes. Was Painter, and then let's just start figuring this thing out. See, that's another thing, is now my ship just looks like an airplane. It's less of a sci-fi ship. See, and what it should do... I need to redefine the planes of it. Get my wet paintbrush. gonna let my dog back on the bed real quick. All right, there we go. Yes, so I actually have a few videos on the mixer brush. The only thing is, it's more of a system hog than it's worth. But for instance, I have actually, I'll just use mine. In my newer brush pack, I just have specific mixer brush tools, and I love like grabbing areas and then just being able to paint like that. Like, it's super nice. The only thing is, the newer versions of Photoshop are just a bear. So it's like I can get the same look easier by just bringing it into like PaintStorm Studio or Art Rage or... But the engine is really cool. I just... But yeah, this does pretty well at getting that sort of impasto look as well. You know, it's just to get that in Photoshop is sometimes more hassle than it's worth. I wonder, actually, let me... Oh, that's cool. So I think I figured out. What if I make this some sort of structure that's like floating in space? I have a Intel i11. Let me double check. Yeah, so like I have a 12th gen Intel Core i5 12600 running at 3.7 gigahertz, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 3060 RTX. Because like this could be, I'm trying to think of the cool like almost like satellites that float around. Dropping it onto the CPU. I think so. And I know, isn't there a way to check like preferences? Isn't it under, is it under general? Performance. Yeah, use graphics processor. So it says that, but I agree with you. I think it unloads it to the CPU a lot. Yeah, so we can maybe just keep this looking a little more painterly, like outside of the window. And then like around our focal points, we can kind of clear it up a little bit. So it's funny, this is at 38% zoom. So at 100%, this is what we're looking at here. Yeah, and you can still see some of the impasto stuff from Art Rage. Look at that pretty ship. It's funny, it kind of looks like a dolphin. It's like Flipper. It's like Flipper just hanging out in space. But yeah, see, whenever you zoom in real good, you can see the paint strokes, you can see it. Then as you zoom out, it kind of blends away. That's cool. And see, there's an instinct of mine that I should go in and fix this. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to keep it just like that. Because if our goal is to make artwork in the style or be influenced by Eldar, we zoom into his stuff, it's the same thing, you know? And like, yeah, like here, those really nice, yummy brushes and like this type of stuff. I love those subtle blends. Maybe that's what I need to do though. Maybe I just need to come in and load a just a color and kind of mixer brush on top of that. And then you see the sharp edges right here. That type of paint. In fact, you know what I could do? I could just stop being a goofball. I could just use his brushes. I could do that. That might work okay. So the name is Eldar Zakharov. So he sells a brush pack. It's called the Perfect Oils, and they are really good. They're mixer brushes for Photoshop. And then there's also a Procreate pack. I like the Procreate version better, but I have both. They are not cheap. I think the Procreate ones are only like $20. I think the Photoshop ones are like $45. But they're good. I mean, I'm gonna use them here in a minute. They're really good. But like we talked about, the mixer brush is just such a hog of a tool that, like, is it worth waiting around or like not quite having the results that I want just to have it in Photoshop? Like, no, maybe Procreate, I can use those a little better. But yeah, Eldar's stuff is incredible. And you see these beautiful blend. He does a lot of work for the Isaac Asimov Foundation. And like this type of stuff. Like, oh, like this. You can't explain it to unsharp. Yes, that's true. That's a good tip, by the way. And we will do that. I'm gonna do one more pass. I'll get his brushes and do the pass. But yeah, the unsharp mask. Whenever I first learned about that, whenever I first saw it, I was like, it was like looking into the Matrix, because I finally figured out, how, Sung Choi and Richard Anderson and Jamie Jones and all these like upper echelon, like Mount Rushmore artists. That's how they got that look of the super sharp, defined brushstrokes that look like brushes. It's amazing. But yes, that's a good call. See, and the real secret is you do that, you do the unsharp mask, and then you do a new layer on a black background and you put noise on it, put it to screen mode, and then bring that noise layer down, the opacity of it, to like 10%. And what it does is you still get those nice sharp deals, but it looks like it dried. Like the painting looks like it's done and you varnished it. So, okay, we'll do it real quick. Let me make a copy of this. Select all, edit, copy merged, edit, paste. So we're on a merged copy here. This is so thank you, Leif, for bringing it to the attention. So you can see these brushstrokes, right? And like some of them, they still have the shadow. They still have kind of that look to it from Art Rage. But what we're going to do is we're going to, and like these right here that don't make sense, but they look cool. What we're going to do is we're going to accentuate those. We're going to make those really like pop. What this filter does is it finds your edges. It's kind of like the posterize edge, but it does it in a different layer blending type. It's really cool. So we're going to go to filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. And then you can control this. And we do have a preview, but like if you really crank this up, it can get really grainy and look fake. So like, and like the threshold, and the threshold blurs it out. I always keep this at 0 levels. Or is it 0 or is it 1? It might be a 1. And the radius is how far away from an edge. It basically finds all of your edges as far as contrast, and it accentuates them. And then like, oh, you can really tell. So if I have it, normally I do it around 20-ish%. But like if you look right up here at this sharp line, and then you look at kind of these brush strokes, I'm going to crank this all the way up. And whenever I let go of the mouse, you'll see what it does. So if you just keep your eye up on those sharp deals, I'm going to let it go. That's what it's doing. It makes it weird and grody and gross and super like hyper sharp. It almost breaks the image. But that's at 479%. Even if you brought it down to 100%, it's more tangible. Like it makes more sense. I usually keep mine around 20% because I want to do a little pop, but I don't want it to like take over, right? So if I bring this down, let's actually do it 60. Let's keep it pretty heavy, in my opinion. We'll hit OK. And now as we go and we kind of explore, let me just grab that brush, let me make it smaller. As we explore around, see how these are now like super accentuated? It's like a bevel emboss filter, but it's smart enough to not change your tone and like your value structure. But all it does is it finds the edges. So you get those, like you see that swoop motion, and if you look real close, you see how those colors are dirty. That filter helps accentuate those color differences. And like, you can really tell that this bridge was just one big brush stroke now, you know? But then once again, you kind of come out. Looks like the normal image, right? But then you zoom in, and then you can really see them. It's super cool. Great idea. Unsharpen mask is an awesome one. And then to give it that filmic quality, if you do go ahead, you go to edit, fill, you fill it with black, go to filter, noise, add noise, and I always keep it around anywhere between 12 to 20%. For this one, it's a bigger image, so I'm going to do like 15%. I always keep it at uniform. So uniform, the dots are like RGB values, but if you do Gaussian, it really kind of overloads it a little too much in my opinion. Uniform looks a little better, it's more subdued, but then monochrome is just black and white for your fuzz, like old TV fuzz. What I like to do is keep it uniform, unmonochromatic. So you want the RGB values, because like you were talking about, Cherry, the chromatic aberration, this adds a little bit of that with the noise. So like if we zoom way in, and it's probably going to get butchered in the stream, so I apologize, but you can see how there's RGB dots everywhere, right? Just those little dots. What this is going to do is smooth out a lot of the painting, but not in a bad way, not in an overbearing way. So I'm going to change this to screen to get rid of all of the black. And you see how it has grit now? It's almost like texture, like a canvas texture. And then as you zoom out, see what it's doing to the colors? It blends everything together. So like if it's off, you have that, so it's really harsh and strong, and which is good. I like that. But then you turn on that noise and it brings everything together just enough. So if I like come out here, okay, and we do not have the noise on right now. We do not have it on. But here, 1, 2, 3, it lightened it a little bit, but really what it did is it took those little dots and it starts blending your colors to be closer in hue. But it does mess with your levels a little bit. Or your values, I should say. So you can do a number of things with this. You can either keep it as it is. You can lower the opacity, which is what I do. I bring it down to about between, 10 to 20%, really. So it really doesn't affect the values all that much. But you still get the nice, so this is with it off. This is with it on. Super subtle. But yes, like, it brings everything together. It's a super good trick. And actually, for every one of my published pieces, so if I do my card art for Varia, or I did stuff for like the Warhammer and Star Wars stuff, I did the noise thing for all of them. Sometimes I would lower the opacity down to like 5% on it, but I would always do it because it would always take these colors and just kind of like compress is the wrong word because you don't lose clarity, but it does kind of like compress, like flattens it, makes it a little easier to, I guess, like you said, like your brain to process it, right? So what we can do, we have this here. Let's go ahead. Let's work with that idea of the satellite, or like some big thing here. Okay. I'm gonna do this. Let me grab my dagger brush. And I am going to grab this. It's a little too much, but we'll do that. What do you do for lead generations and finding clients? You ever done cold emailing? I just get contacted. So what I found is, and I know that's not like super helpful advice, but what I do is I just try to post up stuff that I'm working on. And on portfolio sites, so if you're on like ArtStation or DeviantArt or art.io or anything like that, I do recommend being a part of one of those communities, or even if you're part of like a Tumblr community or, Twitter and Instagram and stuff works okay. Like it works well. But I've found that if you have a community driven art site to where you put up, and nowadays please put up low resolution images, like 72 DPI, nothing wider than like 1500 pixels. Keep things pretty small, for a number of reasons. Probably a lot that we could go way deep into, but I don't even want to talk about AI. But doing that has generated way more leads. And then what's nice is once you work with a few people, the whole ecosystem of the art community and like illustrators and art directors and all that stuff is way smaller than you think. Way smaller. There's a 6 degrees of separation, I think, between everyone I've ever worked with. And there's only like 3 steps between them. Sometimes 1 step. Because they're like, oh, I'm working with so-and-so on this project. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, it's really weird. But I guess my advice is just like, make the best version of your art that you can. And then just keep improving it. Just never have enough of it. Be like, okay, I can get better at this. Like with this one, you see, I've tried 10 different things, even just while we've been streaming. Like, I don't get so held up on like, well, I need to tell this story in this way, and this is very specific. On personal work, it's my time to have fun. It's my time to just like throw stuff around and see what happens. Because this is where I can problem solve. So later, for a client, I'm not scared to make changes. And I think that's my big thing, is you cannot hold your own stuff sacred. That's for other people's art. Look at other people's art and hold it to the highest of esteem. Be like, oh my God, like, how do they do that? That's incredible. But your art, your job as the artist, is to bend it and break it and figure out what your limits are and just keep working. It's not my job for people to like my art. It's my job to paint things. That's it. So what I need to do, what I always tell myself, is my step, my part in this process is to paint. Nothing else. I can help design. I can help do Q&A. I can help figure things out. And that's really helpful. But my job is to paint. That's it. The painting is the part I control. Everything else, like, perfect example is I have a lot of friends who swore up and down they would never work for Wizards of the Coast. Ever. They're like, oh, I'm just not good enough. There's no way. There's no way. Now, one of them has made like 150 cards for Magic the Gathering and has been like in every D&D book over the past 5 years. Because they just focused on improving. They focus on getting better. And you never know who's watching. You never know who's looking at you and are like, if that person makes 2 more paintings as good as that one, I'm going to hire them on the spot. You never know. So that's what keeps me going, is like, I'm going to post up on Twitter and Instagram. Whoever wants to see it can see it. I'm going to make YouTube videos and talk about stuff I'm learning and like, here's the struggles I'm going through, and maybe if you're in the same boat, try this and it helped me, and let me know what you think. And like, that's all the YouTube is, really. And that's what these streams are, is like, you can see inside the process and we get to talk about making images. But that's gone further to like build my presence, you know, which is funny because the goal's never been to get popular on social media. Like, all of it could go belly up tomorrow, and I'm still pretty confident that I could find work. Because I want to be good enough that I get hired regardless. You know, like, there's the old saying of be so good they can't ignore you. That's your part of it, is like, if you just improve and keep improving and never be satisfied, ever, always know that you can do better and keep pushing, you're going to get so popular that you're going to have to turn down big clients because you won't have time. You just won't have time to work. You'll be working on too much other stuff, you know? So, I've actually had it both ways. I approached for Warhammer, and after the art test, they said yes. I was approached by Star Wars, which still blows my mind. I still don't understand how that happened. Once, I will say this little story, and it's not going to give anything away. But I got contacted by the art director, and they're like, hey, we're working on this project. It's a sci-fi thing. Are you interested? You know, and it's from a reputable company. It's a company that I actually own a lot of stuff from. I was like, yeah, of course. Like, yeah, let's talk shop. Like, whatever is on your mind, I'd love to, just open the conversation. Not even say yes or no to a job, but just talk about it. Let's just talk about this. They're like, yeah, we're building this sci-fi project. We're real excited about it. What's your availability? And for this type of art, what do you usually charge? So I gave them the price, and I was like, yeah. So yeah. And they were like, okay, cool. Yeah, this sounds good. So we're going to send over the non-disclosure agreements and stuff, and then go ahead. And at this point, I had no idea what the project was. I had no idea. All they said was sci-fi. I was like, cool, yeah, sure, sci-fi. And normally when you get a non-disclosure agreement from a company, the standard NDA is like 2 to 5 pages or so. This one was 39 pages. I was like, I opened it up, and then I started seeing things. And I started seeing names. And I started seeing Lucasfilms Limited. And I was like, no way. So I signed it immediately. And I was like, whatever we're doing, we're in, man. Let's go. Let's get this thing started. And yeah. And I will say, I'll put it this way too. The work was very grueling. It was amazing. I learned a ton doing it. I can't wait to show it off, which should be soon. I did 39 paintings to industry published standard in 8.5 weeks. Yeah, it was 39 paintings. I was going to say 38, but we added one. So it's work, man. I mean, and that's the thing. If you say yes and you get to a certain level, they will put you through the ringer in the good way. I'm not complaining at all. In fact, I liked that much work because I could have 3 paintings open at a time, and then I could be working on this one. And if something good happened here, I could move over to here and work on this one. And then, oh, that worked on there. Can that fix this one? And like, it was great. Yes. So yeah, 39 paintings in 2 months. It was the least amount of sleep I've gotten, and I say that as a father of 2 children. Even like newborn stuff wasn't as time intensive. But yeah, it's the work is I'm biased, of course, but like it's the best painting I've ever done. I should say it's the best 39 paintings I've ever done. But yeah, I learned so much in there that because I worked that hard for that long, nonstop, little things that would really nuance me during my personal work, I just don't even think about anymore. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just do values and then color splash it and then kind of blend it all together and then tweak it. And then like my workflow's gotten so much faster, which is why I'm able to like, oh, let's change this dramatically. Let's do this. Well, let's push that over there. What happens if we... So like this painting is going to look completely different than it did even when we started, But that's the biggest benefit is just, you can't, nothing's sacred. I mean, just, if it's not working, fix it till you like it, Just do something until you like how it looks, and then from there, it's going to take care of itself. Let's do... So if we have something like that, ooh, and then we can take... Oh man, so here's the thing. This is the type of problem solving I'm talking about. So I like this. I like how the satellite idea is coming together. And I was like, oh, I'm liking this. This is cool. But what we can do is we can also put a satellite over here. And I saw this dark area. but it's going to interrupt this. So now I'm like, what do I like better? Do I like the weird paint splats, or do I want the, you know, a satellite there? So that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. You get to make those choices of what do you like better? Do you like the satellite idea? Or do you like the paint stroke idea? Oh, and that brings up another thing. So another piece of advice. I can't remember where I heard it. Oh yeah, I do. It was Brad Rushing. He's a director of photography. He's done a lot of movies. And he talks about being an introvert and working in the entertainment industry. And he said a thing during an interview, and for whatever reason it really stuck with me. It's about what you want more. And his version of that was he got this big opportunity, but he was terrified. He was so nervous. He'd never worked on a project that big. But he was like, what did I want more? Did I want the opportunity, or did I want to be scared? Like, what was more important to me? Because he was like, I've been scared before. So let's try this other thing. Let's try the opportunity and see what happens. And then, yeah, he got nominated for a bunch of, like, it kickstarted his career. So I would say that. I would say, like, a lot of people will be like, oh, I could never work like that. I could never paint like that. I could never get hired by those big companies. They'd never notice me. So you could think that way. Or you could just work your butt off on your own stuff, knowing it may not even amount to anything really, like, except for your own personal gain, which is, or your soul, like comfort food. But you get to try new stuff. And like, trying new stuff's cool, right? And then what I found is that by trying new stuff, I got more phone calls, I got more emails, because they knew I wasn't just a guy that painted landscapes or still lifes, or I wasn't the one guy. I could try a lot of different things. So then companies started contacting me that also wanted to try different things. They're like, here's a guy that gets it. You know, he can't decide on what he wants either. So let's hire him because he'll fit right in. Like, there's always somebody out there. There's always a client out there that's looking for exactly what you're making. Exactly what you're making. So just keep that in mind. Like, what do you want more? Do you want to beat yourself up because you're not where you're at? Or do you want to paint cool stuff? And it's like, it sounds really easy and kind of flippant, but it's true. It's like, what's more important, you know? Ah, there we go. So what I'm doing here is I'm just adding random shapes. And what this is actually doing, this is building more of a perspective towards our figure, which is our second focal point. It's not our first one. Our first one should be the ship, right? Oh, that's a little too sharp. So like I said, let me go ahead. Boop. Boop. It's traditional. Do I not have the perfect brush set installed? I might not, because it's huge. But what I do have is my good pal Sam Manley, his texture brushes, which we can add add some texture to this stuff. Kind of dirty it up a little more. Make it not as clean. We can really do that for this. Let's grab this one, that one. Yeah. Oh, a little too much. So we got some of these rocks here. We're just going to add some random texture to them. There we go. Something like that. And now we can really start playing around with some of those shapes. And then let me grab Alright. See, I'm liking the look and the feel of those textures. Now we're gonna do talk to a guy on an art server and his father apparently works. I'm telling you, like, we think, at least I know I do. I get inside my own head about like seeing on social media or, you know, portfolio sites or whatever. There are so many good artists. Actually, there's so many incredible, like great artists in the world, right? But because of the internet, the world is very small compared to what it really is. Like, because we can see artwork from everyone in the world at the click of a button. So of course we're going to think we're not up to snuff, because we can literally at any point see the best images ever made by the human race. At any time. So if we're like, oh shucks, I'm not as good as Anders Zorn. Well, no kidding. No one is. Like, they're the best. You know, John Singer Sargent is a dynamo. Like, J.C. Leyendecker can never be touched. Like, there are actual, like, art gods that define the way that human beings interpret visual information on, like, a pop culture level. So, of course, when you compare yourself to that, like, ugh. But you don't have to be the best. You have to be the least risky. This is another piece of advice that I really thought was like profound. Okay, James Gurney still exists. Vance Kovacs still exists. Jamie Martinez, Carl Kapinski, Lewis Jones, Paul Dayton, like Cynthia Shepard, Carla Ortiz. These people exist. They're alive right now, right? They're still painting. They're still working right now. So I had to ask myself, why do I ever get hired? If you have the best in the world still alive right now, how does anyone else still get jobs? You know, you have to logically think about it. Like, okay, why, if they're looking for the best, well, I'm not the best. Go get so-and-so. And you could say, oh, well, the budget. Oh, well, maybe. But I think what it is it turns into, whenever an athlete trains to be like in the NBA or the NFL, they don't train in every position. It's not like your kicker is then going to be your quarterback, is going to be your linebacker, is going to be your whatever. Like, they're one thing. You know what I mean? Like, they are them. They are the kicker. You get hired and you make $30 million a year and you're the kicker. Like, you're not anything else. You're not the coach. You're not you have a very specific thing. So once you realize kind of what you like doing, and it's the thing that wakes you up in the morning and you're excited to try it, just do that. Because that's going to be the thing that keeps you going, but it's also going to be the thing that gets you hired. Because let's say you really love doing texture studies of like tree bark. I guarantee you there's going to be 3D like video game, developers or whatever that are going to be knocking your door down because they need the best tree bark painter in the world. And you could be that, like that's what's so interesting. The way I'm doing it, I'm a madman. I always try to make everything as hard as possible on myself. So I'm trying to be a generalist. A generalist is a jack of all trades, master of none. But that saying is only partial. Whenever people say jack of all trades and master of none, that's only part of the saying. The whole saying is jack of all trades, master of none is usually better than a master of one. So to me, I don't have the wherewithal to really study on one thing. I want to learn it all. I want to learn everything. So I do want to be a jack of all trades. That's my goal. I want to be good at sci-fi. I want to be good at fantasy. I want to be good at animal paintings and still lifes and portraits and oil painting, and I want all of it. Now, it's going to make it harder for me to get hired because I'm not going to be as good as a specialist in any specific thing. But what it means is I could probably be an art director one day. I can get hired since I'm well-versed in a lot of different mediums and a lot of different tools and a lot of different looks and how they did this and how they do that. That's prime candidate for an art director. Because you have to know how to make something work, how to scout out talent that does know how to do that, and they are the best in the world at it. You just have to be good enough. You have to be within the budget, can deliver on time, maybe even early, and then you're gonna get work forever. It's a crazy industry, but it's not impossible. It is not impossible to get in. And then what we can do, let me come back into my brushes. I need my draw blend. I'm going to pick the lightest value, or maybe the second lightest value, and come in. We're going to do some of this. We are going to come in and this looks like nonsense right now because it kind of is. But I promise, when we zoom back out, that is going to be doing a lot of work for us. We can even make them like longer. Still have one that's been tough to navigate. Yes. So I will say, I think I gave this advice to someone the other day. Yes, I would say, even though the ArtStation stuff is super scummy, the DeviantArt stuff super scummy, I think AI is ridiculous, and not in the good way. But I also know there is wisdom in weathering the storm. So ArtStation has been a go-to for art directors for like a decade, and old habits die hard. I would say, yes, have an ArtStation, put up your best work, put it up as low resolution as possible, because even if AI or, Stable Diffusion or whatever, like, goes and scrapes stuff, it's not going to be, it sounds weird, it's not going to be a very good version of your image. Does that make sense? Like, instead of putting watermarks, like, the watermark thing, don't do it, in my opinion. Oh, I'm going to put my transparent watermark all over my artwork. To me, that's just a version of branding, and I think it looks tacky. You can do really low resolution or really low opacity, watermarking or whatever. But like, no, see what I do, and no, not a lot of people know this. Every one of my paintings has my initials somewhere. Somewhere. And it could be a brush stroke. It could be like this. I can come in here and I can be like, oh, I like over here. Let's do something kind of in the middle. Oh, okay, perfect. See where that texture is? W. G. And then I kind of like bring it in. So we know it's there. You know what I'm saying? We know that the initials are there because you just saw me do it. But like, if you're just glancing at the image, you're not going to notice. But then if people try to take credit for it or whatever, be like, oh, that's funny. Did you know my initials are right there? And then they get destroyed. You know what I mean? Like, thankfully, I haven't had to deal with many people like that, but I already have like 7 or 8 tricks up my sleeve. Another good one, if you ever get like if you want to be the good guy and you're in kind of an art dispute or someone steals your work or whatever. So so the filters thing, yeah, I'll talk about that real quick. But one of the main things you can do is if you ever have somebody that's aping your work or whatever, challenge them to an art off. Be like, all right, if you made that, you can make something just like it just as easy. I'll set up a live stream. We can chat it out. We can water under the bridge. We can each make a piece live in front of people. And, you know, anybody that wants to come in and maybe donate, we can give it to charity. What do you say? They will absolutely say no, and they will look like a douchebag. And people will know, oh yeah, that guy stole, or that person stole this person's art. Like, it's an easy fix. Another good one, before we talk about the filters. Never fall for the work for exposure thing. And I can give you the perfect rebuttal. If you ever get somebody in your DMs or whatever, and it's like, oh, we're doing a project, and we won't pay you, but we really like your stuff. We think the reach that we can give you is great. All you have to do to break down any of that is ask them, how did they find you? That's all you need to. Yeah, how'd you find me? Well, you know, we were looking at socials and your name popped up and we really love your stuff. Oh, so I don't need exposure. Because you just randomly looked for artwork and I popped up. So my exposure's great. Sounds like you guys need exposure. Like, they don't think very hard about like, oh, we just randomly were scouring the internet and we found you. Great, then my exposure is, I'm 1 in a billion, man. If you were just randomly looking at the internet and you found my stuff, I couldn't be happier. Oh, wonderful. But now, you know, I'm blessed because I'm in a different position now. But like anytime someone would come at me with the exposure thing, I'd be like, oh, I've worked for Star Wars, for Halo, and for Warhammer 40,000, and collectively, all of their socials have nearly 1 billion followers. Can you get me 1 billion followers? No? Then screw off. Like, then, you know, just tell them no. Like, but let's talk about those filters. My understanding on the AI thing. I've done data science stuff. I used to work in tech at a college and did data management and inventory. I was really one of the specialists for technology support, but I would help do database managements and stuff like that. It's just part of the upkeep. And these are, you know, confidential files. And so there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of anti-piracy type stuff you have to do. There's a lot of federal guidelines you have to follow. So I'm not an expert in AI by any means, but I kind of know my way around a computer. The best filter, in my opinion, for your AI art, you know, whenever you go and you post something, now this is going to kind of, once again, this is about what you want more. Do you want to be noticed by companies more, or do you want to fight AI more? Because you can't do both with my method. So what you need to do, the best way to not get your stuff stolen by AI, is to mistag it. Perfect example. If I upload this picture, instead of sci-fi landscape, science fiction, hangar bay, dock, if I put apple tree, banana, beach at sunset, that's the only thing AI is looking at. It looks at the data, it looks at the pixels, and then it puts that with its idea of a thing on the database. The only thing I think that will really screw up AI is mislabeling everything. Like, so anytime anyone wants to make a thing of an epic landscape, they type in epic landscape and they get a giraffe or like a penguin or something. Because you need to, like, you apply to your art, they can help mess with it. So is Glaze the one that is actually, like, it changes the metadata? Because the metadata stuff is what it is. It's not necessarily the pixels on. The AI is not smart enough to know that it's looking at a painting. It has no idea. What it does know is that this color is this hex code, and this color is this hex code, and sometimes they're found next to each other based on their findings. That's all AI sees. Like, it's like the human body for like nutrition and stuff. Your body does not know the difference between an apple and a candy bar. It has no clue. It knows calories, it knows sugar, it knows the ingredients that it's made out of, but it doesn't intrinsically know, well, now, finally an apple. It knows that the apple has fiber and it has fructose sugar, like it's a machine. It knows what is being brought and it knows how to process that. And too much of it one way or another can be good or bad, depending on what your goal is. Same thing for AI. It's not learning anything. It's just regurgitating data that it has. So if I put this, hey, sci-fi epic landing spaceship, it's going to bundle this with all the other epic sci-fi landing spaceships. Like, it is what it is, and it's going to and it's going to notice some stuff. Really, the way is just to screw with it. Just make it. There's an old saying in data management of garbage in, garbage out. If you give a machine and like an Excel spreadsheet nothing but garbage numbers, and you try to find good data out of it, you can't. There's just too much noise. There's too much crap to go through to be able to get anything that's good. But with this, it's the same thing. Give it bad data. Just meta tag everything wrong. Say this is a bottle of chocolate syrup or something. Like, the AI doesn't know. It just knows that here's an image that has some purples and greens, and it says it's a chocolate syrup bottle. So therefore, it must be true. AI fails to properly identify your type of work. Right, that's probably what it's doing. Is I bet it's changing it at a metadata level whenever you re-export the image. I bet it does shift some stuff, like it might run a Gaussian blur, it might run something like that to where it's harder to get edges and contrasts. Basically the reverse of an unsharpened mask, like we did earlier. But really, I bet it's changing the metadata. The meta tags that it's made with. Because every image that you make is going to show like what timestamp it was, what program did you use, what was the export style, all that stuff. And a great way to find that out is like, let's just go to, let me just save that. Let me save that for clip. Okay. I'm going to save that. Basically, your metadata is just going to be, where did I put it? Metadata is going to be this. All this stuff. So like, it shows what device it was saved on. It shows, date created, the modified, the last time it was, accessed, what it was made with, the security, details, stuff like that. And then if there's any revisions or previous stuff. But then on the other level, it's like every phone image you take has your latitude and longitude coordinates built in. Even if you tell your camera or your phone to not track that stuff, it does. And it's required by federal law to do it. Yeah. I'm sorry to burst bubbles, but it does. Your devices track you, and they're built to do that. I don't want to be like a conspiracy theorist or something. It's just, it's kind of true. That's what they're built for. So it's that. Just mess with the computer. Pretty cool idea. I mean, it could. It's just my understanding of it. It doesn't know that it's looking at an image. So I don't know why moving the pixels would matter. But it could mess with the hex codes. It could totally say that, the hex number, and let me find this. Let me see. Now that I have this color thing built in, I need to see if CMYK. No, I need. Where can I find? Oh, maybe it's here. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. So what if we told it that this hex number, 536D82, this number right here, what if we told them that this was red? You know what I mean? It would just jack with everything. Like it would be the upside down world, like cats and dogs living together. The world is upside down, but the AI wouldn't know any better. It would not know. It would now, because it has enough data to kind of like compare itself to, that if something doesn't add up, it throws it away, which that might be what they're doing. They might be changing things like hex codes or whatever to mean something else, so the data doesn't match up with the other training data, so it thinks it's junk. And that would be a smart move too. So if they're doing that, that totally works. It's just getting it at that large of a scale that's hard. Yeah, exactly. Totally. That's all it can see. It does not know the difference between a photograph or a painting or pixel art. It has no clue. It has no clue. All it is data. Machines are good at regurgitating data. So the thing is, go in and mess with the data, and you're fine. That's the real trick to all this. But I think we're at a pretty good spot because it's 1:45 in the morning, which is cool, man. I dig it. I mean, we have been live for a while. I don't know where's my time. Normally it says how long I've been streaming. Oh yeah, there it is. 3 hours and 17 minutes. Craziness. Crazy. But yeah, I'm excited where this is coming. It's not done. There's probably a good another 10 hours of pure painting still left to do here. But I do like the idea that this is more of a mountain. I need to change this to not look like Flipper, the friendly whale, or the friendly dolphin. So we probably need to look at some reference. It's the part I've been avoiding because I've been trying to work more from imagination lately. But things just look better if you have a reference. Do as I say, not as I do. You should have reference for everything. In fact, that's talked about in that James Gurney book, Imaginative Realism. He talks about building maquettes of everything. Just tiny little clay piece. That way you can look at it and draw it and paint it. Smart. Super smart. So we may download some spaceships. We may do something else and just try to like finagle the angles and stuff. But yeah, overall it's looking okay. It's been a lot of little changes, I think, for oh yeah, and there's the noise layer. And then we'll just check our values one more time. Fill black. Yeah, that's fine. I might come in and lighten up some of like behind his arm or something like that and actually make it look legit. And see, this is where I would come in and I would sharpen edges. So all my edges that are kind of like dastardly and kind of ugly right now, like these edges up here. This is where I would come in. I would do select all, edit, copy merged, edit, paste. So that way it's all in black and white. Put that filter over it again to make sure I stay in black and white. And then I would come in with, yeah, a round brush and like come in with these edges. I actually learned this from Thomas Elliott, the Warhammer artist. It's a super great way to make sure that you have really nice clean edges if you need them. but then you can keep the other stuff kind of, so like if we were to come over here and like do something like that, and then we'll grab a lighter. See, and even just stuff like that, it helps. And then the light. See, that's how you can render forms really well. Just turn it back to grayscale, and now you can see that his arm is way more defined, even though we just did a few little things. You know, it makes a big difference. So there's something like that. So that might be the thing we do next stream, is just really work on our edges and look that way. So, but guys, that's it for me. That's what's up, Marco? What's up, brother? Big shout out. Everyone go give Nerd in the Bay a follow. Dude's legit. Me and him have been homies for... Do I have a regular stream schedule? No, I do not. So that's actually kind of the benefit of doing multi-streams now. Because I was doing Twitch for a little bit. Kind of back up on Twitch probably once a week or so. But now with this YouTube going live, I'm going to go live at the same time on both. I'm probably going to lose my Twitch affiliate, but I kind of don't care. I know we talked about that earlier. Like, one, it ain't about the money. And two, Twitch didn't do me no favors anyway. So I'm going to stream to whoever wants to watch. You know what I mean? So, but I will try to do at least one a week. I will say I do have a new baby coming in June. So that might change that, but this is also going to be, you know, follow the channel. I think everyone has. I think I said it to where you have to be following the channel to watch the stream or be able to chat. So follow the channel because I'm going to be doing a lot more dedicated art technique videos. I have the whole, the newest video that's up, I think covers a lot of the things I'm thinking of for video ideas. So comment on that video if you have video ideas, or if there's an art technique that you're really like wanting to look at and learn, post it up there, because either I'll know how to do it, or even better, I won't know how to do it and we'll figure it out. And I'll make a video on my findings. But the next video coming out is going to be about edges and edge control, which is kind of what we just started doing here. And yeah, I can show you the painting we're working on for that one. I think so. Let me open up. Boom. So this one's still very early. It is based on a photo study, but this is basically, we're going to come in and I'm going to get it to a little bit more of a render, but then this is what we're going to use to show the examples of the 3 different types of edges, and how where we do each one impacts the greater picture. So it's going to be a time lapse, it's going to be some real-time stuff, and it's going to be some talking head stuff. So it'll be a little bit more art school than my normal stuff, but that's where I'm kind of thinking about the channel going, is we're going to do more live streams like this to where it's more kind of open Q&A. Then we're going to do more dedicated technique videos. And then I'm going to be doing some more like art software review type videos. I think there's a lot of questions about different art softwares out there, and I'm a madman and I buy all of them. So, hey, it's worth a shot, right? So yeah, so cool stuff coming up for sure. And, but yeah, I'm excited to be able to stream in both places now. That's super fun, and like so much fun talking with everyone and having everyone here and just hanging out, you know, that's the goal. So yeah, I think that is my time for tonight. I'm rocking out my last little bits of G Fuel here at 2 in the morning because I'm insane. But yeah, that's it. That's it for me. Let me see what chat's doing. So yeah, everyone kind of winded down. Cool stuff. But it was great to see everybody. Huge thanks to everybody for hanging out. Absolutely. Yeah, and I'll be doing it more regularly for sure. Whenever I don't have the big clients, this is going to be kind of what I do for the job. You know what I mean? I am a freelancer, so I go from thing to thing to thing. And what's awesome is, if we're talking about space, if you've never played the game Freelancer or Free Space. Yeah, Free Space, especially Free Space 2. It's like Elite Dangerous. You're a freelancer, literally you jump from gig to gig. It's cool because now I get to call myself that. I'm like, yeah, I'm a freelancer. Like an old medieval. But yeah, so I do this as the job. So we're going to do it a lot more. But that's my time. You guys have been the best. Always are the best. And yeah, this will be up on YouTube literally within seconds, I think. And the live chat should still be there. So you guys can see your name in the bright lights for hanging out. And I appreciate you very much. I need to make a thumbnail, I think, for this one. So that should be up in the next few minutes. But thank you so much for hanging out. Appreciate you very, very much. And we will see you guys very, very soon. Peace.